Huh?
The bell has tolled 10 times. Normally, I start this podcast out by saying the bell is rung, but didn't seem appropriate this week. I, of course, am Josh Rizowskis. This is In Ring Reality, and today I'm joined by my dual co host of Jamie Loves Taker, who is coming at us via audio only because it's better for her internet bandwidth. So, Jamie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm tired of being home, but I'm good.
Yeah, right. And today we have the debuting good friend of mine for the first time on the show. This is the host of the Justin Harvey Show, Justin Harvey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to get this party started, Josh, and I believe we're going to have a good time. So I'm glad to be
Yeah,
here.
I think so too. Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, we kind of have to start off this week on a somber note. Well, let's be real. This whole show is going to be a somber note after this week. But this is like the
Mm-hmm.
super somber note because the Fink passed away this week. And he is, without a doubt, the most iconic wrestling ring announcer voice of all time. Like everybody knows the and new that he always used to do with all of his stuff. So
Yeah.
I want to know from y'all, what are some of your favorite members of the memories of the Fink? So Justin, since this is your first time, I'll start with you. What went through your mind, and what are some of your favorite memories of the Fink?
Well, some of my favorite memories. Um, One of my favorite memories of all time is actually when he actually joined Degeneration X. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was just perfect for his persona because he showed that not only could he be a good announcer, but he could also, partake in the wrestling part of it. So I thought that was amazing. So
Yeah, I agree. That was a really cool moment.
yeah, yeah. And to me, Howard Finkel is the Michael Buffer of the wrestling world, in my opinion. I mean, he was the best. So,
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. One of For me, I think other than the and new, which is like for everybody, I think the most standout memory that I have is only one of Shawn Michaels' feet hit the floor. Therefore, this match will continue. Like, because that was such a never before seen moment in the Royal Rumble where we
yeah,
actually had an elimination, but up until that point, we'd never seen an elimination that wasn't an elimination.
yeah, yeah.
So that was a really standout moment for me. Jamie, what about you?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say that obviously it's very, very sad, and it's just the worst timing for him to pass away. Not that there's ever a good timing for someone to pass away, but because with all the releases, everyone losing their job. Then on top of it, we're during the COVID pandemic, and now he passed away, so that just added to all the horrible stuff. But I don't really have a favorite moment because Raz, remember, I'm a lot younger than all of you are.
Right,
And I've only
right.
seen some of his stuff. I know who he is, obviously. You can't not know who he is. But I've only seen his stuff on YouTube.
Well, out of the stuff you've seen though, or out of stories you heard, do you like have a favorite call of his? I'm just curious.
No. I mean, not that, no, because I wasn't really around when he was like doing it. What would you say, like full time? Would that be the wording? Like when he
Yes,
was
that
doing
would be
all
the
that full
wording. Yeah,
time?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfectly okay. I didn't want to not include everybody in this conversation, so hopefully that didn't come across as awkward to you, Jamie. But no, that's perfectly okay.
No.
Um, but I think another thing I want to talk about though before we get off of him, because
Wait,
I think
Raz,
it's
can I say
yes.
something?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say I wish that I was old enough or born when he was doing all of that stuff. Because now I only have YouTube to watch. You guys had it like live on TV and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is the beauty of the network and YouTube, though. When time permits, everyone can now go experience, what Howard was all about.
And, and Josh, I wanted to say something that's very important before we jump off the subject of Howard Finkel. I also learned a couple days ago that he was the one to make sure that Owen Hart's body got home safely for Vicky Guerrero, because she actually tweeted about it after she learned about his passing. He was the one that made sure that his body got home after he had passed from the incident. And I think that that's just something very stand up for someone like Howard Finkel to do. And I just wanted to make sure that this was noted in this podcast today, that he actually made sure that Owen Hart's body got home safely for burial.
Yeah. Yeah. You're psychic, Justin, because that was actually in my notes. I was going to bring that up, but that is such a wonderful, wonderful story. And it just shows what kind of man he was. And he never went away from the business either. Like, one of the things I think people forget about was because the network kind of had problems when it first launched, but when it first launched, they really wanted to push original programming, aside from documentaries.
Yeah.
So they had this series called Legends House, which he was a part of, with a bunch of other legends like Jimmy Hart and Roddy Piper and Hillbilly Jim. And I can't remember the whole entire cast, but his stuff on that show was hilarious. So if you've never
Yeah.
seen Legends House, I highly, highly recommend that show. If
Yeah,
you
I loved Legends House. It was one of my favorite shows to actually watch, because they would get in these funny situations, and it was just hilarious, because there was actually one episode where they all had to get like a different type of regular jobs, besides wrestling, and it was really interesting to see them in a different environment.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite episode of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up as well. But the other thing, before we leave him, I just want to drive home the point, because we say this about everybody that passes away within this business that we love. But once the business is in your blood, it never leaves you. And Howard was not well toward the end of his life, but he
Yeah.
always knew that wrestling was paramount to him. Because if you've seen some pictures going around of his friends visiting him at the home that he was staying in, there's a photo in the background that says, please turn on channel 35 at 8 p.m. wrestling is on. And the reason he made that sign was because he was no longer able to work the remote control himself, but he wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that he never missed an episode of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it just shows that once you're in this business, you're in it for life. And
Oh, absolutely. And I want to think that if there is a heaven or other side, Josh, that him and Mean Gene Okerlund are actually calling matches in heaven.
oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah,
Yeah,
me and
yeah.
Gene was in
I
Legends.
can totally see. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I can totally see like Jesus himself saying, "Okay, you guys still have to wrestle in heaven." So it's a good show.
Well, they're probably calling a match between like Eddie Guerrero and Owen Hart or something like that.
Yeah,
I could totally see that
They're
being the
all
case.
partying up there.
They're all, without a doubt. But Jamie, you agree with that, right? About the business just stays in your blood
Oh
as long
yeah.
as you're alive, and he never leaves you.
Even fans, you were what? One time had to go to the hospital for something and were passed out and still told the people to turn on wrestling. So
Oh yeah,
once you're a fan or even a wrestler, there's like, even when you're dead, you'll still be enjoying wrestling.
yeah. That's a really interesting story. I don't know if I want to tell that story live on the air or not, but I could get you into it off the air because I don't think Justin knows that story. But yeah, it's just always sad when we lose someone. And like Jamie said, when she first did her part here in our opener. You know, this was horrible timing because we're in the middle of a global pandemic on top of losing him. So it was just like, can we
Yeah.
get any more bad news? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we could have taken any more bad news. But unfortunately, we have to transition into more bad news because, as you've seen by the thumbnail, if you're watching the video version live on YouTube or Facebook or watching either replay, WWE's Black Wednesday took place this past Wednesday as a number of superstars were cut. And there's no other way to put it. It is pure casualties of the pandemic. And that's all there is to it. And I just feel really bad whenever people lose their jobs, period. But in this climate, it's a horrible, horrible thing because your brain automatically goes for people like the Revival, Gallows and Anderson, maybe. Your brain automatically goes to, oh, they'll go to All Elite Wrestling, AEW. But the thing is, AEW has all their programming taped all the way through Double or Nothing, which is in June. So they don't even know if they're in a position right now that they can hire people. And that's the case with any business. It doesn't matter if you're in the wrestling business or you're, you know, McDonald's right now. You just
Oh,
don't know if you're going to be able to hire people within this pandemic scenario. So it's a horrible, horrible time to be without a job. And the other thing I want to say before I throw to Jamie, we'll let Jamie kick off the roundtable here since Justin did it the first time, is that Drake Maverick's video in particular just made me bawl like a
Me
unborn
too.
child. It was just horrible, horrible, horrible to see because you can really see how much it means to people to be in WWE and have that opportunity. So, Jamie, you mentioned that it made you cry as well, but we tried to do a little bit of breaking news episode earlier in the week, but it didn't work out too well for you. So just go over how you're feeling right now with all these job losses and what your takeaway is.
Well, I mean, what do you say? It was very, very sad. I mean, this pandemic has caused such havoc on Earth, and I'm heartbroken for all the wrestlers, not just the wrestlers, but there are people who are not wrestlers in WWE who are, producers and social media people and just people who might be cleaning people. There's a whole millions of jobs at the headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. People there lost their jobs. People around the world are losing their jobs. I mean, I think it's in America alone, like 6 to 7 million people without a job right now. Either on furlough or they've been fired or, they're temporary with being fired. But I just feel awful for anybody. But also, the whole world is on stop, so no one's getting any sort of job right now. But I'm also trying to look at it like this shall pass, and it's going to take a while, and we're gonna have to wait a while before we see and do anything. But everything right now is temporary, and those who have been fired will be a part of wrestling again. It might not be a part of WWE, it might not be in a big capacity, but they will be somewhere again. And it'll be, I'm sure eventually we'll see like people start to re-sign with maybe WWE, or they might go somewhere else. But until then, everyone's got to wait.
Yeah, and but again, to me, that's what's so hard about it because they just don't know how long their waiting
Yeah.
game is gonna be. It's just such an unknown scenario right now. So, Justin, how are you feeling about what went down?
I'm actually feeling devastated because, all these wrestlers, they perform for us day in and day out. And it's really heartbreaking, Josh. And I also read, too, not only is the wrestling industry being affected, but the XFL had to declare bankruptcy. So it makes me wonder, if the XFL had to declare bankruptcy, what's going to happen to WWE with this pandemic? It really scares me.
Yeah, well, we've covered the XFL in previous episodes, or
Yeah,
actually, no, I take that back. I did that in the audio version before we found Streamyard, so I don't know if I have talked about it here, but yeah, it's really sad because the XFL was gaining a lot of momentum, and Jamie
yeah,
can attest to this because she told me stories about people from her school, you know, people that aren't even wrestling fans were buzzing and talking about the XFL. So
It
yeah,
was in
it,
one of my school assignments too, so
yeah,
people were talking about it.
yeah. So it's very sad. I mean, they only got to run half a season, and then the pandemic killed it. But as far as WWE is concerned, you know, it's hard to tell
yeah,
because we keep the thing about we call them dirt sheets because they basically are because we're not within the company, so we don't have a way to verify anything anyone is saying, or we don't have a direct connection to talent to know
yeah,
for sure
yeah,
what the stories that we're hearing are true or not. But there is varying reports that say that WWE has about $1 billion or so in back capital that they can tap into if they have to, if this thing goes on for very long. And
yeah,
the good news about the pandemic fallout is WWE did get clearance from NBC Universal, who owns USA, and Fox, that their TV contracts are not going to be affected by having to tape dates. So after this week, they're going to go back, be able to go back to a taping schedule, which is so much safer for everyone involved and so much easier to control the environment. So, from a performance standpoint, I think they'll be okay. But my goodness, with this pandemic, I said it to Jamie off the air, and before Jamie reacts to what I'm saying, Justin, I want to know your thoughts about me putting it this way. I said when all the Black Wednesday firings went down that this was really the first moment for me that, yes, you know that a global pandemic is out there, and yes, you know everybody's in quarantine, but this was really the first moment for me where it really hit just how
yeah,
serious this is because it's directly affecting people that I care so much about. It made it really personal when
yeah.
it affected the wrestling industry for me.
It's really personal for me because I actually know a lot of people that's in the wrestling business, and I kind of know what it would feel like if I would have lost my job because, like I told you, I'm very close with Bruce Hart of the Hart family, and there's a lot of Harts that still wrestle in the WWE, and it's just it's heartbreaking. It really is, Josh.
Yeah, but do you agree though with that statement that
Yeah,
it almost felt
yeah,
kind of like you were mourning a death in a way?
Hmm.
absolutely. Because, like I've always said, WWE will always be timeless no matter what. Look, we've got the WWE network. We can go back to any point in time we want to, any match at any time. So it's endless. It's timeless.
Without a doubt. But Jamie, just to expand on what we were talking about off the air, I mean, you said that you felt that way as well, that you felt kind of like you're in mourning and it just really hit home.
Yeah, like we were saying off camera, we were talking about how we knew it was bad out there and we were starting to feel the effects too, but because it hit WWE, I think that's where the turning point in our head we're like, wow, this is really, really bad. And I think because we love WWE, that is our what brought us all together. And I also think um, because we kind of feel like WWE is so invincible that they wouldn't be hit by it, which is obviously, no, nothing is invincible. But for the fact that it hit something so powerful and it's really affecting uh, them, I think that's what's making it so scary. But I think that they'll be okay. I think they're going to struggle like everyone else for a long time, but I think they'll definitely be way better off than the XFL because that XFL has only been around for what, half a season. WWE has been around for what, like 60 years. I think they'll
Yeah,
struggle and they'll lose stuff, but I think 60 years worth of stuff, I think they'll be okay because they're the biggest wrestling company in the entire world. So, but going back to what I was saying, like, I think that the fact that they're being now hit and it's now affecting them, I think is what really makes it extra scary. You know.
Yeah, yeah. It just, like I said, there's no other way to put it other than it just hit home. Because as fans and as wrestlers within the business as well, this business is our lifeblood. It's our home. And the coronavirus affected our lifeblood. And it was so terrible to see. So I just wish so well for everybody that was let go. And I hope everything turns around when the world turns around. I did write down some notes of everybody that had been released, and I was going to speculate on where they might go, but I don't think that's really appropriate right now. I think we just need to let this settle before
Josh,
we start talking about, yes.
can I add one more thing to what Jamie was saying about
Oh, yes,
XFL?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, it is fairly new, Jamie, but if you remember, Josh, XFL started years ago and they actually failed, and then Vince McMahon recently just started them back up. So technically they're not that new, but they are, because they were actually a thing years ago. They just didn't do as well.
Yeah, they were a thing years ago, but I think what Jamie was saying was that this was a brand new incarnation. Like this really wasn't connected to the original in any way.
Well, I was just trying to make a statement, Josh.
No, it's fine. I'm
yeah,
just, giving.
Can I just add something?
Yes, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, oh my gosh, I almost forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that with the XFL, like, this is not their fault that it failed this time. You know, the other part, last time they were here, it was their fault, but this time, the only reason why they had to file for bankruptcy is because of the chaos that's going. Otherwise, they would be doing fine right now. You know.
Yeah, because they were actually doing better this time around than last time, because people were actually really getting into the XFL. So
they were. Really, they were. I mean, that's what we were talking about before, about people within schools and, just out around the environment. They don't know anything about WWE, but they're normal, if you want to call it that, sports fans. They were really buzzing about the league. So hopefully, we see them again. I don't know if Vince and Andrew, sorry, not Andrew Luck, Oliver Luck can run the league again or not. But yeah, hopefully we see them again. So any final thoughts from you guys about Black Wednesday before we start to go over some of the other news and sort of break down TV this week?
No, just COVID sucks and it needs to get out so life can return to normal.
100% agree. Justin, anything?
Yeah, my heart actually goes out to everyone, not just the wrestling business, but everyone around the world that has been affected by this.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, we're here doing this show, and I'm doing my movie and entertainment show because of how important it is to provide a distraction to people.
Yeah.
Because not only does it keep me sane, but I think it keeps the world sane and just gives them something else to focus on for a few minutes at a time. And I've said it before, and I'll probably say it a couple of more times till the point gets driven home. Thank you, StreamYard, for creating a web-based service for people like me that have crappy computers that we can still stream and do wonderful things like making videos. So thank you so much for your program. But there was good news that came out this week. Roman and his wife are expecting twins, and it's their second pair of twins. I mean, how cool is that, guys? How cool is that?
That's just amazing. Amazing.
Congratulations to them.
That is like, that just blew my mind, because it's one thing to be pregnant, but being pregnant with twins is such a rare thing, and to do it twice, I was like, wow.
That's like extra rare.
Wow.
Raz, you and I say this all the time. I really want a twin. How cool would it be to have a twin?
Oh yeah, make your twin do things you don't want to do.
They're gonna have they're gonna have two sets of twins now. So
Yeah, it's absolutely insane to think about. And yeah, like everybody was saying, just congrats to them because that's amazing, amazing news. I don't want to get too much into this, but since we brought up Roman Reigns, I think people might call us out in the comments for not bringing this up. Roman Reigns' name hasn't been mentioned on WWE TV since he pulled out of WrestleMania, and there are some people that are perpetuating this story that WWE is angry at Roman Reigns, and I just want to say that I think that's complete utter nonsense because WWE was already monitoring Roman because they know he has a low immune system and he is at higher risk to get the virus because of everything he's been through with leukemia. So
okay.
why in the world would they be blackballing him? I mean, that is just ridiculous. So I just wanted to put that out there just so people didn't think I was ignoring it. But the reason that I was gonna ignore it is just because there's no merit to it at all. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think people just dirt sheets want to cause drama.
Yeah.
But what reason would there be to mention Roman Reigns? Like, out of all the storylines going on right now, where would they mention him?
Exactly.
Like, it wouldn't make any sense. Are you going to mention him in the middle of a women's match? Like, and I'm pretty sure I saw someone say they did mention him on SmackDown. Like, it was like in a commercial or something, or you know how there's at the bottom of the screen where they have like tweets and stuff. I mean, it really doesn't even matter anyways because there's no reason to
Yeah.
mention him now.
Yeah. Justin, any thoughts on that at all?
Well, honestly, I don't think people should be mad that he made that choice because, I mean, the guy just had leukemia. He had cancer and he beat it. And with, I can understand his point. He doesn't want to take a chance because if he catches this virus, he could literally die. And, your life is more important than doing a wrestling show. I mean, come on. I mean, wrestling's important, but your life comes first. Your safety comes first, in my opinion.
And plus he's got young children.
Yeah.
Like he's got a family to take care of. What happens to them when he dies? I know there's the mother, but imagine those poor kids having to be without their dad. Like, of course, his life is very important, but those kids.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, yeah. So the
And
point
I
that we're
really don't think they're. I really don't think they're mad. I really don't. They're
oh
probably think, oh man, this situation sucks, but he's got to do what he's got to do. Can't do anything until the pandemic ends.
yeah, and the only sad part about it though is like we said about at the releases, nobody knows when the pandemic is going to end. So it could be a very long time before we see Roman, which is a very
Yeah.
sad thing. But I mean, I just had to get that out there because it really angers me when I see stuff like that perpetuated on the internet. I mean, we could do a whole show, and I think Jamie's probably very tempted to ask me to do a whole show because she's talking about this all the time about these so-called fans who all they do is whine and complain.
And, and Josh, I think part of the problem, like, I think some of these fans forget that these wrestlers are humans too. Does that make sense? Like, I
Oh,
think they forget that they're actually like you and me, except they're on a bigger scale. They wrestle for us and they entertain us, and they forget that they're actually human too, just like we are.
And can I add that these people who are supposedly fans that complain all the time, we don't know anything that goes on behind the scenes. We're not professionals of any kind. We're not businessmen and women. So all these fans that act like they know everything, you don't know anything. We only see, what some dirt sheets say some stuff, but we don't know anything other than that.
Yeah.
Like you're not a professional. So it's just ridiculous some of these so-called fans.
without a doubt, without a doubt. So we've gone about a half hour already, which is great. So I think in order to keep this a little bit more succinct, we're not going to break down every match in every show because that would keep us here for almost 2 hours. But let's go over weekly TV just a little bit. what were your takeaways from Monday Night Raw? I'll start with Justin on this one.
Oh, I thought Raw was actually pretty good considering that there's still no crowd. Um, I think Asuka did awesome. I think everything was just packaged better this week than previous weeks, in my opinion.
Oh, without a doubt. Jamie, did you have any takeaways from Raw?
Oh no, I agree. I think it was more put together, and I think that as time goes on, they're learning more and more how to be more creative and how to go on without an audience, and they're not. You sometimes forget actually that there's no audience because they're, there's certain angles and they're zoomed in at certain parts. And I know on NXT they blacken everything around them, so you can't see that there's no audience, and they're utilizing like their headquarters and they're utilizing you know, like movie type of things. So I feel like they're really, really, really trying, with the circumstances that they're in.
I think so as well, without a doubt. The big takeaway though from Raw that I think is worth talking about is that they set up Seth as the number one contender to Drew for the WWE Championship. And I'm telling you what, there's been some people that have said that they saw this coming a mile away. And my answer to that is, what in the world show were you watching? Because this was the last thing I expected, was to have him come out and curve stomp Drew, because through the entire show he was playing crazy Messiah, just slowly losing it more and more from losing to KO at WrestleMania. And then he comes out and stomps Drew's head into the mat. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
I love. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I cannot wait to see these two go at it.
That's going to be a great match. I'm really excited about seeing it because, like, when that actually happened, Josh, my jaw absolutely just dropped, and that normally doesn't happen a lot. And I'm like, wow, this is just amazing. This is cool.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, again, because it's so hard. We talked about predictability. When you've been a wrestling fan for so long, you kind of sense where things are going. But I
Yeah.
did not sense in the least about Seth being the first challenger to Drew, mostly because he just lost at Mania. So I thought they were going to build someone else up like Andrade. Andrade came out to start the show, and Andrade
I think I
continued that
froze.
feud that he had with Drew from NXT. So I thought that was the direction they were going to go. So when they went with Seth, I was just like, wow. Jamie, what did you feel through all that? I think Jamie might be having some technical issues with her connection there. So Justin and I will just move on, and hopefully
Okay.
Jamie can come back in. But let's move forward to NXT this week.
Before we get to NXT, Josh, there's one thing that really shocked me. I can't remember the other woman's name because I don't really see her a whole lot. But Shayna Baszler took her out like in the women's match immediately by hurting her arm, and it just lasted a couple seconds. She couldn't continue. The woman couldn't continue because where Shayna Baszler just stomped on her really hard. They had to stop the
Yeah,
match.
yeah. Well, you're right. She did jump Sarah Logan and really took
That's
her
it,
arm
Sarah
out.
Logan. I couldn't think of
Yeah, Sarah Logan.
her name.
She did jump her, and that was the way that she advanced in Money in the Bank. And the reason I forgot about that is Sarah was among the names that unfortunately was let go this week.
Oh
So
wow, I do apologize that I couldn't remember her name because I don't normally see her a whole lot. So I'm like, I forgot her name. But
yeah, no,
yeah,
it's fine. It's perfectly fine that maybe we have time to get into that now, since it's just the two of us. When we get down, we might do that a little bit more. But
yeah,
that's part of WWE's problem of why all these releases happened, is because they had so much talent and they didn't have space or the time or the ability to push everybody. So you do forget a lot of people's faces. And Sarah Logan stands out to me because
Yeah.
I watched her in NXT, and she's the real life wife of Ivar from the Viking Raiders. So
Oh
I know,
wow.
yeah. So here the Viking Raiders are still in the company, but Sarah Logan's gone. So
Yeah. Yeah.
awkward.
Usually I'm good with remembering names. I just kind of had one of the moments where you're like, what is her name? Because where it's a 3 hour show and everything's just jumbled together
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we don't have to leave Raw quite yet. I just didn't know
Yeah.
what else you had to add to it. But how are you feeling? Because you weren't here beforehand on the show prior to this. How are you feeling about Shayna Baszler as a push right now? Because it was a bit of a surprise to see Becky retain at Mania. So, do you
Yeah.
think that Shayna remains strong in her position? Do you still see her as the next Raw Women's Champion, or where do you think that's going?
Um, I think she's on the right path, but I can't see her as a champion yet. But I believe she's on the right path. I just don't see her as champion right now. But speaking of her, I would love to see a match between her and Becky. That would be
Yeah,
spectacular.
yeah, I would love to see a rematch there as well. We'll have to wait and see what
Yeah.
the plans are for Becky, because it seems to me like they're not going to really pull the trigger on either a Raw or SmackDown number one contender because they want to keep that mystery of who's going to win Money in the Bank
Yeah.
alive. So they can't really say, well, this is the number one contender on Raw, because then it would be a situation where, okay, well, if Raw has a number one contender, then a SmackDown star is going to win Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they did that way.
And
But
like, yeah, and usually they do a draft and everything, and I think, at the end of, like, after every WrestleMania, they usually do a draft, but I think even that's going to be affected because of this coronavirus thing too, because
oh,
they usually
absolutely,
do a draft.
absolutely, it is, and I do think that's why we haven't seen a draft, because
Yeah.
Jamie and I talked about this off the air, and we're really sorry, guys. I mean, she's doing the best she can. She's having laptop issues, and sometimes when you're on a iOS device, Wi-Fi doesn't cooperate with you
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention her a lot because she's my longest wrestling confidant. I mean, now that I know Justin's so into it, we'll probably be talking a lot more as well. But one of the things that she really hammered home to me off the air about what's happening with the virus is, and the reason I keep saying the virus rather than full name, by the way, is I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube because YouTube is kind of iffy about mentioning the
Yeah.
virus.
Yeah. And I don't think that that's fair, because whether it's a positive thing, if you mention the name of it, regardless whether it's positive or negative, they will demonetize you.
Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous, but anyway, one of the things that Jamie drives home all the time is she talks about how there's a reason that they're using NXT and Florida-based wrestlers right now more than ever, because there really isn't a thing right now of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT rosters. They literally have to utilize who is available to be used, who's safe to be used, and you're going to see people jumping around a lot because of what's going on. So I think it does nullify the draft simply because of that, because they
Yeah.
don't know from week to week who they can use and who they can't in what scenario.
Yeah, and like you said, who knows when things will be back to normal, because even the movie business is affected. Like, there's a lot of movies that were going to be coming out this year that's been pushed back majorly
Oh
because of
yeah,
this.
I covered that on the last episode of Josh Rosowskis on that channel.
Yeah,
So yeah, everything's going crazy right now. Everything's going crazy. So NXT this week, I thought was actually the better show than Dynamite, and that's other than the Takeover show,
yeah,
which was is a whole other animal. This was really the first time I thought NXT was just better all around than Dynamite. And before I get into the matches on NXT, I want to get your opinion on an overall thought that I had that I mentioned to Jamie as well. I think the reason NXT was better than Dynamite is Dynamite benefits so much from the live crowd and that atmosphere. That's such a part of what they do. Whereas NXT, while the full sell crowd is great and all, because it's always been such a small arena to begin with and an intimate setting to begin with, I think that they can translate better to an empty arena show. And I think overall the product that you see on your screen doesn't feel that much different.
Yeah, I agree because like if you look back, NXT was for like it was considered the minor league to get to the WWE, and I honestly think that that's why they're doing a better job. They don't have that high expectation that's expected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But also, just because it's now more widely considered their brand and not considered developmental, and people know that that's where the best wrestlers in the world are in NXT, I think that helps people be a lot more forgiving to NXT as well.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Because I think that the fans sometimes with like the big WWE they expect too much, but with NXT they kind of know what to expect and they don't expect too much from NXT, which is a good thing. So it's kind of met in the middle,
Yeah, it
basically.
is kind of met in the middle. This is back in 2 weeks, but heck, you're here, and I just want to get as much as your opinion as I can because I want people to know how awesome you are and why you're gonna be here from now on. Hopefully, um, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa finally came to an end 2 weeks ago. 5 years long feud within WWE, arguably the greatest feud they've done in the
Yeah.
last decade. What did you think about the way that went down? And that was by far my favorite empty arena match that we've seen so far.
I think it was executed well and done right. And when things are done right, Josh, you get the perfect package deal.
Without a doubt. Were you did you like the way that Johnny got the win, or are you
Yeah, yeah.
upset that Candace is heel now? Like, how did you feel about all that?
I think changing to heel was a good decision because I think if you're a baby face for too long and can't turn heel, you're not going to go over too well in the business.
I agree. I agree. But what did you think about that match as a whole for a finale? I mean, given the circumstances, I think they knocked it out of the park. I think that's the best finale
Yeah,
that I've seen in a long time for a feud.
I agree, and honestly, I think the reason that it worked so well is because those two work together really really well. I mean, like I've said, a package deal. They knew what they were doing, and that's why it was executed so well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what did you think about NXT this week? Like, what were your big takeaways from this week from the show?
Oh man, there's just so many, Josh. It's hard to name everything, but I
Well,
I think I
we
think
got
everything
all
was
the time in the world, dude. I mean,
yeah
originally I
yeah
said let's keep this succinct and to an hour, but I think people are enjoying the
yeah
content, so we'll just go as long as we need to. So
yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
before I start, what was your favorite takeaway, Josh? I mean,
Oh gosh, here Justin is throwing his host hat up on there because I'm trying to
yeah
be a gracious host and lets my guest talk, and then Justin throws it back to me and says I'm not talking enough. So I think it's really going to be a great dynamic with us. But
yeah
my biggest takeaway from this week, I think, was the two big debuts. We saw the official debuts of Timothy Thatcher, who came out of nowhere as the substitute partner for Matt Riddle, who needed a partner because Pete Dunne is stuck overseas in Great Britain. And
yeah
I thought this was a great place for Timothy Thatcher, mostly because I didn't expect it. to happen the way that it did. And I thought the chemistry that him and Matt Riddle had was great.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I think that NXT has that ingredient to have us guessing instead of being predictable. Like, because there's many times that I've watched wrestling and it's been so predictable, but like with NXT, it's been not so predictable on what's going to happen.
No, without a doubt. So, what was your takeaways from Thatcher? Are you familiar with his work, or was this the first time you'd seen him? Or
First time.
how did you like the way that he meshed with Riddle? Were you impressed by him at all?
I Yes, I was, and if he continues to do what he's doing, I truly believe that he can reach higher up in the business.
I 100% agree. For those that don't know, though, he is probably the biggest name to be in the independents over the last number of years that wasn't on television on a regular basis. And WWE has actually been trying to get him for years. And for whatever reason, he turned them down all the way through until this year. So it's a pretty big deal that he's finally within WWE. But then that wasn't the only debut we saw, because we saw the other big free agent that was snapped up by WWE recently, known as Killer Cross. But because this is WWE and they don't want to offend a certain demographic, they've changed his name now to Karrion Cross, which I actually don't know if that's a better thing or not. Because if you look up what carrion actually means, it's actually involving raising people from the dead, which is arguably just as bad or worse than being a killer. So I don't know if that was a better choice or not, but Killer Carrying Cross debuted by jumping Tommaso Ciampa. So he's
Yeah.
clearly going to be the first feud for Tommaso, and he was alongside his wife, Scarlett Bordeaux, as well. So it was really, really exciting to see these two finally in NXT. They were the only reasons that I was watching Impact about a year and a half ago, was those two in particular. So I was really, really excited by this moment. What did you think?
I totally agree, Josh. And the thing is, I don't agree with the name change, regardless of what this generation is today. I think they should have kept his name the way it was. It was perfect with his name.
Hey, because it fits his character and his persona
Yep.
so well. He is a killer. I mean, he's callous. He knows no bounds, and he just goes out there and does what's necessary to get the job done. And he plays that psycho character so well. And the way they built him up with those ticking clocks the past couple weeks, I was like, oh God, when that clock hits 12, I know what's coming. I know what's
And,
coming. And it was
and,
just,
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm,
I'm sorry.
you're all right. For those that are watching the video version, the problem with connecting to the internet sometimes is you don't always know when the other person finishes a sentence. So you just kind of got to roll with the punches when you're live.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, what I was getting at was they built him up with the clocks and all that. And I expected the clock to hit 12 and then the lights to go down and we get some big entrance. Instead, the clock hits 12 and he just comes out of nowhere with a sneak attack, which is so much better for who he is and what he's about.
Yeah. And honestly, Josh, I believe that they would have kept his name if he would have came to the WWE, let's say back in the 90s when the Attitude Era was going on, because they really pushed the envelope in the 90s with the Attitude Era. So I believe it has to do with this new generation. They're too afraid to push that envelope on some things now.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. 100% agree with you there. Unfortunately, he wouldn't have been around to debut back then and
Yeah,
go by
I'm
that
just saying
name.
if it was back in the 90s, they would have kept it regardless because they
Yeah,
really pushed the envelope. I mean, because if you look back, DX did a lot of crazy stuff in the Attitude Era that you can actually go back and watch in the archives on WWE Network.
Oh, without a doubt. So, what was your? Are you familiar with? Sorry, stumbled a little bit there, folks. Again, just getting back in the swing of things here. We'll get better as time goes on. Were you familiar with Scarlett and Killer before they came into NXT? Were you just as excited as me, or was this another case of this is the first time you've seen them?
Um, I think I might have seen them before, Josh. I just can't put my finger on it where I've seen them. I think I've seen them before. We're possibly under a different name, maybe.
Well, yeah,
That
they were
happens a lot.
they were Killer Cross and Scarlett Bordeaux and Impact for a long time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I've seen Impact. That's where I've seen them. I couldn't, Josh. I couldn't place it where there's so many organizations and
right.
time goes on and you get older and you
Yeah,
forget. Yeah, I've seen them. And
everything just kind of goes together,
yeah,
especially now. It's like, what is the date? What is time? Like that's another big reason that I want to get back to creating is because creating actually forces you to keep some kind of schedule
yeah,
alive in your
yeah,
brain. And I know, okay, every Saturday I'm going to come on and do the podcast version of In Ring Reality. And then through the week, I got to cover news and break down shows and all that. So it's
yeah.
actually a really big benefit. But now that you remembered where you saw them from, I, you agree with me that like the sky is the limit for them to be a part of NXT now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think I think they'll do. I think they'll actually do better in NXT because I believe that they'll take better care of them. So
I agree. I agree. Although the Impact did do a good job with the
yeah,
killer gimmick, though.
yeah,
I will say they did it as well as they could. All
yeah.
right, so shifting over to Dynamite, you know, for the last 2 weeks, the Empty Arena World Title match between Jake Hager, formerly known as Jack Swagger in WWE, and John Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose in WWE, for the AEW World Championship was built up as the main event. And I hate to say this because I'm a big champion of the company as a whole,
Yeah.
and especially of John Moxley because Moxley is from Cincinnati. I'm from Dayton, so Ohio boys always strong, sticking together, us Buckeyes. But this match to me just didn't work, Justin. There, there,
Uh,
there was something about it that just didn't work, and I don't
yeah.
know if it was the fact that there was no crowd, or if it was the fact that Jr., who was built up for a big return, because they were able to pre-record his commentary. So this is the first time we've heard him since the virus broke and happened,
Yeah.
and he just didn't feel really connected to the match. So I don't know if that's what took me out of it. But there
Yeah.
was just something about this match that just didn't work for
Yeah.
me.
It well to me the match kind of felt stale, and I don't know if it's JR or if it's just a little bit of everything, but it just felt stale to me. And honestly, if I still call them Jack Swagger and Dean Ambrose, that's because I'm still used to their WWE names. But
Right,
I
yeah.
just thought that the match was too stale. I just it just something wasn't executed right. When something goes off, Josh, just one little thing, it can make the whole match just terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And the sucky thing about it though is it gives because there always is gonna be that one person or those two people that say, oh, it's just Jack Swagger and Dean Ambrose. It's just a WWE mid card match for another company's world title. Unfortunately, in this case, it kind of gives validity to that argument because the match was not well executed, which is part of the problem.
And who knows, JR might have been off his game with everything going on right now.
And he
I
might
mean,
have been, and he's also not used to doing recorded commentary from the internet. He's used to being there live in the arena as well. So
yeah.
that may have thrown him off too.
I mean, because he has worked in WCW and he has worked in WWE, but I think where he was in WWE so long doing it live, I think that might have thrown him off to doing it taped versus doing it live. I think I think he needs to get used to that.
I think so as well. I think so as well. But I don't agree with the whole salty JR thing. I mean, I think he really enjoys being in AEW and really likes his job. But I just think with this particular match, he just was off his game a little bit.
And sometimes that happens. I mean, and look, JR is getting older. He might have been having an off day too, so that could be a thing. But like I said, he's always been in the WWE environment, and this is a new environment for him because to me, it's kind of like starting over. Like he needs to find his niche again. Josh.
Yeah, without a doubt. I agree with that. Without a doubt, Justin. So, some other things that happened on Impact this week, we saw advancements in the TNT title tournament. Lance Archer is really impressing the crap out of me. This guy's a beast.
Yeah,
he's a beast. What's your impressions of him?
I think that he's going to go far. I mean, if he continues to do the way he's doing, he's going to go far.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Jake Roberts is a mouthpiece. I mean, I could listen to Jake Roberts talk all day, every day, twice a week. So,
and I got to tell you, I love not to change the subject, but I love Jake Roberts. When I met him, he gave me 2 autographs. Didn't even charge me, Josh. He is a great man. A great man. I love Jake Roberts.
Oh, there's no doubt he's a great man. And that's why I was so thrilled when he found sorry, folks. Trying again, hit the rewind button. When he found DDP Yoga, it was such a wonderful thing because, let's be honest, we thought we might lose him there for a while because he was really in bad shape for a long, long time.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you ever get the chance, Josh, you need to catch his comedy show. If he's ever in your area. He's hilarious.
He has not been in my area, but that's definitely on my bucket list because I cannot imagine how funny that would be. I would love to see him and Mick do a show together. I think that would be fantastic.
That would be interesting. They're both funny in their shows, but they're funny in their own way. Like they have like 2 different separate shows, but they're both genius on what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I cracked up for days during Mick's show that they showed on the network. So I can only imagine what Jake's show would be like.
And speaking of Mick, and I don't mean to be changing the channel here, but I really hope that Noelle starts her training again because I would love to see Noelle Foley start her wrestling career.
I would love to see that too, but I wonder though if she really needs it. I think she's found success in other areas, so maybe she just decided that it's not for her.
Yeah, but as a fan, as a big Mick Foley fan, because I'm like a huge Mick Foley fan and always will be.
Well, who isn't? I mean, she's the favorite superstar, my favorite superstar. I mean, Mick Foley is the reason that Becky Lynch got into the business. So, I mean, who isn't a big Mick Foley fan?
And the fan part of me wants to see another Foley go in the wrestling business and see what they can do.
Yeah. Oh, man, we're all over the place here. And I do apologize. I'm trying to follow a format, folks, but first
I'm sorry, Josh. I threw you off.
No. I'm apologizing to the audience because I just reminded myself of something. I can't believe I did this. I should have my deadly name revoked for this, but I forgot to talk about Becky's promo from Raw.
I loved her promo.
Her promo was some of her best work, and call me biased if you want. I don't care. It's my show. I don't care. Best promo in the business today, hands down. Bar none, most consistent promo we have in the wrestling business. Today, I don't care what anybody says. And she dialed back the emotion enough to where she was like, am I crazy? Or am I making y'all think I'm crazy? And the person that's most dangerous to a queen is the Joker, who she doesn't see as a threat. I mean, I thought the way that she handled herself, with the way she was talking to Shayna and talking to the other women,
Mhm.
was just brilliant. And I thought it was a little bit of a reset to for those people that didn't like the somewhat sillier aspects of the goat character. This was kind of a reset to a joint between the goat and the man as well. So I
Yeah,
thought everything about it really worked.
yeah, because
Really worked.
I actually enjoyed Becky's promo better than Charlotte Flair's because, like, and I hate to say this, but like when I watched Charlotte's promo, I feel like she's just trying to be her dad, like totally.
Yeah, yeah, I can kind of see that. I mean, I was saving Charlotte for a reason because we're on
Yeah,
it when we were on NXT, but she didn't appear on NXT this week. Really, she just cut that promo package, which was fine.
yeah,
But
but
I
yeah,
think the problem with Charlotte. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just trying to go off what you're saying. I think
yeah,
the problem with Charlotte is that she's done so much already. And that's the biggest reason why they put her in NXT, to give her something new to do. But when you have 10 championships in your like fifth year in the industry, you kind of
yeah.
already hit your ceiling. So I think that's the other part of the reason why Charlotte's promo was a little bit Rick like, because they're kind of having to force a new dynamic for her. And I don't know if it's working 100%.
I, I honestly don't know if it's going to work, and like if it does work, I feel like it's not going to work too long, and it's going to get really, really stale because, like I said, no disrespect, but it's just like she's just trying to be her dad, and it's just to me, it's getting too stale already.
I agree. Charlotte is my second favorite female superstar of all time, though. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
hope that she, is able to do great things in NXT. Because, like on paper, Charlotte versus Io Shirai, Charlotte versus Candice LeRae, Charlotte versus Dakota Kai, Charlotte versus Tegan Knox. I mean, the list goes on and on of the amazing matches that she's going to be able to have as
yeah.
part of the NXT roster. So I hope it works well. I hope it works well.
I mean, she's a wonderful wrestler. It was just like her promo. It just kind of just like threw it off with me because it's like I could have closed my eyes and be like, that's the female version of Ric Flair, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
She needs to find her own niche, I think, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Well, she's leaning in to
Yeah.
her dad a lot more than what she was before, which is not necessarily a good thing. But anyway, to try to pivot back now to Dynamite,
Yeah.
it's way too early to really know. But do you have like a just kind of early pick for who you think is going to win the TNT title out of the competitors that are there?
I actually don't have a pick right now because I'm still watching very closely before I make my decision, Josh, on an actual pick.
Fair enough. I personally would love to see Darby Allin come away with the title.
That would,
That would,
yeah,
because the mid-card title is supposed to be all about building a star, and there's no more poignant way to do that than to give it to a guy like Darby.
yeah, yeah.
Although I gotta admit, I would also love for Cody to have a title in AEW as well, because Cody is my brother. He's one of my favorite human beings in the world. So
Yeah, yeah.
can't go wrong with him either.
Yeah,
So
I just don't have a pick at this point because like I'm at the point where I'm still watching and evaluating really closely. So,
yeah, Britt Baker though. Let's talk about her. When they shifted her to a heel, my
yeah,
God, did it click? I mean, 'cause she went from like the most generic babyface to one of my favorite heels in the business right now. She is killing it,
yeah,
absolutely killing it.
yeah. And honestly, for someone to go straight from babyface to a heel makes for a perfect wrestler, and it'll make perfect success because honestly, if you can't go from babyface to heel, you're not going to make it in the business.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But also the fact that, people want to say complain because she's also doing the role model gimmick, which was also done by Bailey. But I'm sorry, I love Bailey to death. But she's
Oh,
doing this,
I love Bailey.
but she's doing this gimmick better than Bailey.
Yeah.
She's doing the role model thing 100% better than Bailey right now. So, I love Britt Baker, and thank goodness that they finally have teeth in the AEW women's division, because that was really the only complaint that I have with this company so far is just the lack of a women's division. So it's nice to see them moving forward with that in a
Yeah,
good way. In a good way.
I'm glad too because if you remember, WWE didn't have the women that they have today because women were more for show back in the day for the WWE. So I'm 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 glad that both companies are, they're trying to push the women more because honestly, Josh, nowadays I'm starting to really love the women's matches better than the guy matches.
Well, I mean, I've said it to you and anybody that's known me for a long time. If it wasn't for Becky Lynch, I wouldn't be still watching wrestling right now. She literally revived my passion for the business. So it proves how far the women have come,
Yeah, yeah.
without a doubt. So since I brought it up, and since we're already kind of all over the place here, did you ever have a period in time where you kind of were out of wrestling and kind of didn't feel the same to you, and then someone brought you back in?
Uh, yeah, I got to the point where I actually quit watching it, and then um, when I started seeing McFoley back on wrestling, trying to get things going again, I started getting back into it, and then I started watching like you said, Becky Lynch, and then you had Ronda Rousey for a while. She wasn't in the business too long, but she did good when she was in the business, but yeah, there was a time that, especially in the WCW days, because at the end of WCW, they didn't know what the heck they were doing. So,
Oh, without a doubt. Well, I feel like this is a whole other subject. So let me finish the recap of the
okay,
shows for those people
all
that
right,
need that. And then there's so much other stuff that I can go off with that because I feel like that's a great conversation that we just kind of started there. So we'll
yeah,
put a pin in that and come back to it. But any other takeaways from Impact this week? I'm really looking forward to seeing where John Moxley goes next because he is tremendous. He's just killing it right now. Despite my problems with that particular match, he's just
yeah.
killing it right now. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, who is the next challenger for the AEW World Title and where he goes.
That's a good point. I mean, I'm just really excited to actually see, wrestling on TNT again because it kind of makes me feel like a kid again. It really
With,
does.
without a doubt, without a doubt. So, any other takeaways from this week's episode of Dynamite?
Oh gosh, I can't really think of anything, Josh, right offhand. I mean, my brain is just like,
It's just kind of all over
uh,
the place right now. That's fine. That's fine. I did.
yeah, because yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, it's just like everything's just jumbled together, Josh. Because I've had to watch, Raw and Dynamite, and it's just everything's just jumbled together.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
one of them
just
days.
just now that you know that you're able to do this show with me, if you know you're gonna do a show with me on a given week, maybe take a little bit of notes because I've been
Yeah,
glancing down
yeah,
my phone this whole time, scrolling through some notes that I took because when there is so much wrestling on,
yeah.
everything does kind of blur together a little bit.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So maybe just use the notes app and just say
Yeah,
let's
I'll
talk
use the
about
notes
this.
app on my phone and be better prepared. And I do apologize. It's just
No,
everything's
it's fine. I
jumbled
just
together.
dude, you're perfectly fine. I'm just making a suggestion that might help you going forward. But I do need to talk about SmackDown just for a couple of minutes. So, do you
Okay.
want do you want me to mute you so that you don't get spoilers, or do you not mind? Or
I don't mind. It's on my DVR. I'm gonna watch it regardless. So
all right, well, the big takeaway from this week's SmackDown, there were two. Number one, Sonya Deville cut the best promo of her career because she calls out Mandy Rose to try to set things right with Mandy, and she's very sincere and very sympathetic, and like, oh my god, she's actually really regretful for what she did to Mandy Notice. And then like that, like a dime, she says, you Mandy are the most selfish person I've ever met in my life, and proceeds to talk about how it should have been all about fire and desire, and all she was trying to do was get her mind off Otis so that they could be focused on fire and desire as a team, and started talking about all this time that she's been in the background to Mandy Rose. How they came out to Mandy Rose's music, how she used to be blurred out in the entryway when she came out with Mandy Rose. And this was just so well done to the point where I was like, dang, I had no idea that Sonya Deville had this in her. And this is probably my favorite promo of 2020 this year for SmackDown, bar none. And I'm so excited to see where this goes. And I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope to God Sonya Deville goes over in this feud because my goodness, that was so good. So good. So I can't wait for you to see the promo, but just without knowing exactly what was said and going off what I said, what do you think about Sonya and the way this whole thing has went down?
I think it's being executed perfectly right now, Josh. I think if they continue to go down the path that they're going, it's going to be spectacular.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. The other, I said there were two, but there was actually three. Kind of forgot one. So the second one was they continue to plant the seeds with Bailey and Sasha and a little bit of tension between those two. Lacey Evans actually helps Tamina get the victory over Sasha. So Tamina gets that future shot at the SmackDown women's title.
Yeah.
I said this to Jamie, for somebody who you almost forget is there in Tamina because they hadn't used her in so long.
Oh,
I've
I
been
love
real.
seeing Tamina back. I
Oh,
love
I
seeing her
love
back.
seeing Tamina back as well, but I'm also so impressed by Tamina. She's going out there and
Yeah.
cutting great promos. I had no idea she had those kind of mic skills. Did you?
I had no clue. And Josh, since you brought up Sasha Banks, there's something I wanted to mention. Actually, I actually thought Sasha Banks was going to have a feud with Bailey because I was thinking that it was getting to the point to where those two were actually going to split up at
And
one
I,
point.
yeah, and I think that is the direction they're going. But I applaud them for not blowing their load on it too soon because
Yeah,
slow builds is a foreign concept now in wrestling. So it's really nice to see something evolve over time.
yeah, yeah. But I honestly thought it was going to happen at that moment because that women's match the other week, it was like Bailey didn't even try to help Sasha, and she like, and I thought that they was going to break up then um because of the way things went. But I think it's coming, and that's what they're building up to, like you said. But I honestly thought that they was just going to explode on each other at first. That was my first, thought when I had seen that. And I was like,
Yeah,
uh-oh.
yeah. Well, my early prediction is that Sasha wins the women's Money in the Bank this year, and she uses it on Bailey. But the question is, does she turn on Bailey, or does Bailey turn on her first, and then Sasha has the briefcase? That's a really big question because the more this goes on, I'm thinking Bailey's going to be the one to stay heel out of this whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I honest. Here's what I think, and I could be wrong, but I think the reason why Sasha didn't turn on Bailey is she's waiting for Money in the Bank, and then she's going to turn on Bailey and kind of get redemption for what Bailey did.
Yeah, I could see that as well, but I don't know. I just really like the idea of Bailey being the one to stay heel and Sasha playing the face because it's the opposite of a dynamic that you would have thought we would have gotten when they continued this awesome feud that they had in NXT 5 years ago now.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
kind of hope they go the other way.
I
But
mean,
either,
it could go either way, but I do believe that it's gonna happen regardless. They're not gonna stay together much longer, in my opinion.
no, because they have to have at least one match. They might get back together down the road, but they have to have at least one match. But yeah, Sasha just seems like a logical choice to win Money in the Bank because you really
Yeah,
don't. Whoever you have go against Becky, Becky is on such another level right now that whoever goes against her is just automatically elevated. So they don't really need the briefcase. So it just
yeah,
feels
yeah,
like you've already got this storyline here ready to
yeah,
simmer between Sasha and Bailey, and the briefcase just kind of will accentuate that a little bit.
yeah. And like I said earlier, I would still like to see Shayna Baszler up against Becky Lynch. I think that would be just spectacular. So
Yeah, I don't know if that's the direction they're going or not, but I think maybe that's the direction they should be going because
hmm
I think there is more there between those two. But
yeah, yeah,
the the thing you don't know yet though is that they announced on SmackDown this year that the Money in the Bank match is going to be structured differently than we've ever seen it before, which is obvious because of the virus. But what they're doing is they're actually having the two Money in the Bank matches, the men's and the women's Money in the Bank matches, take place at WWE headquarters. And the end of the match is going to see a ring with a ladder and the briefcase on top of a ladder on the roof at WWE headquarters. That is so innovative and
yeah.
so awesome. I never would have expected something like that. So, hearing that, what's your takeaway from that?
I think it's going to be I think it's going to be awesome because it's going to force WWE to actually try something new and do new ideas with this pandemic going on. They're going to have to think outside of the box,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
and be more creative. Like an example, they had to be more creative when they were going up against WCW back in the day. So maybe this is kind of like that situation, but different, Josh. You know what I'm trying to get at?
I do. I do. So, the other thing I wanted to just to put a bow on SmackDown is that we have new SmackDown Tag Team Champions as Big E gets the victory over John Morrison and Jay Uso, I think it was the Uso in this
Yeah,
match. But what they
I believe
did,
it's Jay.
yeah, I believe it was because Jimmy was in the last one. But Big E gets the victory. New Day is now 8-time World Tag Team Champions, which is insane. But the really interesting thing here, though, was that prior to this match starting, they had the hacker come back. The hacker that revealed the truth of Sonya, Mandy, Dolph, and Otis. And they had him come back with the whole "you're about to learn the truth" thing. And they showed images of Miz and Morrison, New Day, Alexa Bliss, and Nikki Cross, and one other team who I can't remember, but they showed images of 4 different tag teams. So they're teasing that we might see another. Oh, but Sasha and Bailey. Sasha and Bailey was the other one.
Yeah,
So they teased the fact that we might see another big truth reveal. And this is gonna sound crazy and way out of the box, but given the way the match ended, with Big E winning a title that is meant for 2 people without
mhm.
Kofi and Xavier, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that is what happens. If maybe Big E has a little bit of heelish tendencies, and that's how the New Day breaks up. That
Yeah,
that that. That's
Yeah.
way out there in left field, but that's just something I was thinking about. What do you
And
think
honestly,
about that?
yeah. And honestly, I agree because like number one, New Day has been together like forever now, and I think if we're going to see like a breakup of the New Day, it's probably going to be sometime during Money in the Bank. I think that's what they're building up to.
Yeah, I personally don't want to see New Day break up because I think you can give them singles pushes. I mean, Kofi proved it last year. You can give them singles pushes without breaking them up, and they work so well together, and they're
Yeah,
such great friends IRL, and they're just so dang funny that I don't think it's necessary to break them up. But WWE just has this trigger finger. They can't keep people together for years upon years upon years. So I
yeah.
think if you are going to break them up, this is a smart way to do it. But out of the names that I mentioned from the hacker, what other thing do you think might go down? Like, what other truth do you think might be revealed besides that from the hacker?
Oh gosh. At this point, Josh, it's hard to tell where WWE is going to take it because I'm like, what's going to happen? Is it going to be this way or is it going to be that way?
Yeah. Well,
So I mean,
you're
they really got me guessing this time. So.
yeah, 100%. 100%. You have no idea where they're gonna go for anything.
Yeah, I
So
mean, because for the first time, it's not so predictable.
no, it's not. And I really wanted to keep our conversation going, but I just received word that my dinner is here. So I'm gonna have to wrap up today's show. But Justin, I had a great conversation with you. So I can't wait for you to come back on the show. Maybe I'll have you on during the week when there isn't a lot of news and we can just talk overall about, our feelings on the industry and stuff, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, Josh. And not only that, but I don't know if you realize, but for another show, we also need to discuss. I'm also a pro wrestling champion myself.
Oh, that, folks, in the business, that is what we call a tease. That is a tease. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of In Ring Reality. So, Justin, tell the peeps where they can find you and all your awesomeness online.
You can follow me on Twitter at Justin Harvey, and then you can find me under Justin Harvey on Facebook.
That's awesome. And you are bringing back your own show as well at some point down the line soon, correct?
Yes, at some point, but right now everything's on hold where I've got guests on my show because of the virus going on. I've kind of put things on hold because where I actually interview physical guests and movie
Well,
stars and pro
Well, I
wrestlers.
mean, you've seen today, StreamYard can help you with that. So maybe
Yeah,
we can talk about that a little bit later on because I'm
yeah.
always happy to help you out. All of Jamie's stuff is at Jamie Loves Taker everywhere except for Instagram, which is at Jamie Loves Undertaker, because that was the one place she was able to fill out the entire name for her display. And of course, I'm at Josh Rosowskis everywhere except Facebook because I already had a personal Josh Rosowskis Facebook before my name change and my media persona. So Facebook is at Josh Rosowskis YT for Josh Rosowskis YouTube, of course. But everybody's links will be down below in the archive descriptions of the videos, as well as the audio podcast version, which will be edited later today and be up tomorrow for those of you that prefer to listen that way. So, Justin, thanks again for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Josh. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And as I always like to say, life is only as good as you choose to make each day. So make the choice to go out and do something great today.